Well, U.S. President Donald Trump says a 50% tariff on copper pipes and wiring will take effect tomorrow on deadline day, citing national security concerns.
So let's check in now. We're connected with Jeremie Charron at CTV in Ottawa for more on this story, what this could mean for Canada. So break down this latest tariff announcement from President Trump for us.
Yeah, well, look, the copper tariffs were expected, anticipated, especially by the copper industry, of course, but are kind of scaled back as opposed to what many were expecting and what many in Canada feared. The copper tariffs that are being rolled out tomorrow, as you've touched on, cover specifically semi-finished copper products, and it'll be a 50% tariff on semi-finished products. That's things like rods, sheets, copper tubes, pipes, wiring. It does not, though, apply to semi-refined products or semi-processed products, which is what the Canadian copper industry is a lot more focused on. Things like cathodes, anodes, concentrates. And so this is kind of a relief, if you will, for the Canadian copper industry that was bracing for perhaps widespread copper tariffs that could have had a significant impact on the industry here in Canada. But instead, the scaled back tariffs, more targeted tariffs on semi-refined products are a bit of a good sign, at least for now, for the Canadian copper industry, that can breathe a sigh of relief and know that, the products that we produce here in Canada, copper products, are going to be largely unaffected by this 50% tariff. Nonetheless, we're facing that August 1st deadline and the increase tariff up to 35% on all the non-CUSMA compliant goods.
Yeah. OK. So, Jeremie, where are we on the latest? What has Prime Minister Mark Carney hinted about or said about how these trade deals are going? Will we reach that deadline, that absolute deadline set by U.S. President Donald Trump for tomorrow?
I think it's highly unlikely at this point. The Prime Minister has touched on the fact that it is very possible that negotiations will go beyond the August 1st deadline. The President has touched on the fact that many of the negotiations will go beyond the August 1st deadline. We've heard Donald Trump repeatedly say that Canada is not at the forefront right now, that the U.S. administration is not focused on negotiations with Donald Trump. And then on top of all of that, you add in what we've heard most recently from Donald Trump, which is that Canada's decision to recognize the Palestinian statehood is going to make trade negotiations even harder. It's another thing that U.S. President Donald Trump can lean on when he talks about why negotiations aren't going well with Canada or why he's not focused on negotiating with Canada. And so, it's not looking good at this point for an August 1st deadline and a deal to be done. But the important thing to remember here, too, is that when you look at the deals that have been signed so far, most of them include a 15% baseline tariff across the board, which Canada already is kind of better off than that. When you look at CUSMA, of course, and the fact that we are facing, as of tomorrow, an increase to 35% on tariffs, but only to goods that are not CUSMA compliant. So what I'm hearing from a lot of experts is, let's not rush into a deal. Let's make sure, the federal government is taking its time and ensuring they're getting the best deal for Canada, not just trying to get a deal done because of this August 1st deadline. Many questions still.
Yep. OK, here we are. We'll have to wait and see, as usual. CTV's Jeremie Charron joining us live with this. Thank you.